People think silence means you have nothing to say. They think if you're quiet, you're weak. But that's where they're wrong. Silence is not weakness, it's control, it's patience. It's the space between emotion and reaction. In that space, my brothers, is where your real power lies. When the world gets loud, when everyone around you is talking, posting, arguing, showing off, you must learn to step back. Let them make noise. Let them waste their energy. You stay still, you stay calm. Because the one who can stay silent when everyone else loses control, that's the one who already won. Silence is not about saying nothing, it's about saying only what matters. It's about understanding that your energy is too valuable to throw into every argument, every comment, every meaningless fight. You see, weak people need attention. They need to be heard because they don't believe in themselves. But the strong, they don't chase attention, they command it without words. I learned this from my father. He used to say, don't speak when you're angry, don't speak when you're emotional. Train first, think first, then talk. That's discipline. And that's what silence really is, discipline. When you can hold your tongue, you can hold your emotions. And when you can hold your emotions, you can control your life. Look at the strongest fighters, the greatest champions. They don't waste time talking. They don't respond to every insult. They understand something most people never will, that silence confuses the enemy. It makes them wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're capable of. That's the power of silence. It keeps them guessing while you're working. Every time you stay quiet when someone disrespects you, it doesn't mean you're scared. It means you're focused on a bigger fight. It means you're not letting their words distract you from your purpose. Because let me tell you this, if words could hurt you, you'd never survive the real battles. The greatest revenge is not a reply. It's results, it's silence today and success tomorrow. Silence doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop wasting. You stop wasting your time explaining yourself to people who will never understand your journey. You stop wasting your peace proving your worth to people who don't deserve your presence. You stop wasting your focus on noise that doesn't help you grow. You see, in silence, something powerful happens. You begin to hear your own thoughts. You begin to connect with yourself. You begin to see clearly what others can't. When everyone is lost in distraction, silence becomes your training ground. It becomes the place where you build your vision, your plan, your next move. And then when the time comes, you speak through action. You don't need to tell the world what you're doing. You just do it. You just show up. Stay humble, stay silent, and deliver. Because when your work speaks, your words become unnecessary. Silence is like breathing before the storm. It's that calmness before something great happens. People may mistake your quiet for fear, but let them. Because while they talk, you're building. While they argue, you're growing. While they sleep, you're training. And one day, when you finally step forward, they'll realize the storm they laughed at was preparing to destroy their noise. Sometimes the loudest thing in the room is not the person shouting, it's the one who doesn't need to. The one who has already proven everything through discipline, through effort, through patience. You must learn to become that person. The one who doesn't need validation, who doesn't react, who just walks his path silently and relentlessly. Remember, the world is full of people who speak before they think, who post before they act, who promise before they prepare. Don't be one of them. Let your silence protect your dreams. Let your silence speak for your integrity. Let your silence become your strategy. You don't have to tell the world what you're made of. They'll see it when you rise. They'll feel it when your actions speak louder than every word ever could. Because silence, when combined with purpose, becomes the language of champions. So the next time someone doubts you, the next time they provoke you, or try to pull you into meaningless noise, remember who you are. You are not built to talk. You are built to act. Stay calm, stay silent, and stay dangerous. Because silence is not the absence of power, it is power. You see, silence is the beginning. It's where control starts. But silence alone is not enough. What gives silence its real power is discipline. Because silence without action is just quiet, but silence with discipline, that's what builds warriors. When you stop talking and start working, something inside you changes. You stop living for applause and start living for purpose. Discipline doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't need recognition. It just needs consistency. Every single day, you wake up and do what you said you would do, not because someone is watching, but because you gave your word to yourself. Most people talk about success, but very few live it. They say, I want to be great, but they don't want the pain that greatness demands. They want the reward, not the routine. They want to stand on the mountain, but they don't want to climb. That's why discipline separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, because discipline means doing it even when you don't feel like it. When I was a kid, my father used to wake me up early before sunrise to train, and I didn't always want to, but he'd look at me and say, "You don't train for today, you train for the man you want to be." Those words never left me. Discipline is not about today, it's about who you're becoming. It's about preparing your future self while others waste time. People say motivation is the key, but motivation fades. You can be motivated for a day, maybe a week, but discipline stays. It's what pushes you when you're tired, when you're angry, when no one claps for you. It's what keeps you moving when the world forgets your name. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning quietly inside you when everything else goes dark. You don't need to tell the world about your goals. You need to show them your work. Let your effort make the noise. Let your success do the talking. Because when discipline becomes your habit, your results will shout louder than your voice ever could. When you step into the gym, when you study, when you train, when you sacrifice, that's where discipline lives. It's not in the easy days. It's in the hard mornings, the long nights, the moments when no one believes in you, but you still keep going. Those are the moments that define your future. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you grow stronger. Every time you say no to distraction, your focus sharpens. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence builds. And one day people will look at you and say, "He's gifted." But they'll never see that it wasn't a gift, it was discipline. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what you're willing to do. It's waking up before the world does. It's training when no one's watching. It's studying when your friends are out. It's doing the hard things so life becomes easier later. Because if you avoid the pain of discipline now, you'll face the pain of regret later, and that pain never leaves. So, when life gets hard, when your mind says stop, that's the exact moment you must continue. That's the moment that breaks most people. But if you can push through that point, if you can keep going when your body and mind both scream enough, that's where champions are made. That's where discipline becomes your identity. And remember this, people respect consistency more than intensity. Anyone can give effort once, but the one who shows up every single day with or without motivation, that's the one who becomes unstoppable. You don't need to impress anyone, you just need to keep your promise to yourself. Because the hardest battle you will ever fight is not against an opponent, it's against your own comfort. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek validation. It's quiet, repetitive, unshakable. It's the voice that whispers, "Keep going," when the world goes silent. So, when you combine silence with discipline, you become dangerous. Because now you are unpredictable, you are focused, you are patient, you are consistent. People won't understand you anymore, and that's fine. You're not living to be understood. You're living to become unstoppable. One day, when you stand at the top, when you've achieved what they said you couldn't, you'll realize it wasn't talent. It wasn't luck. It wasn't noise that got you there. It was the quiet mornings, the disciplined days, the moments no one saw. Discipline speaks louder than any word, any promise, any speech. And when you live by it, you don't need to tell the world who you are. They'll know by your silence and by your results. You know, when you live in silence and walk with discipline, something beautiful starts to grow inside you, character. And the biggest enemy of that character is ego. Ego is loud. It needs attention. It wants everyone to see, everyone to clap, everyone to recognize. But character, real strength, it doesn't care who's watching. It doesn't chase approval. It doesn't need to be seen. Ego is the voice that says, "I'm better than them." Character says, "I can be better than yesterday." Ego wants to win arguments. Character wants to win respect. And every day, life will test which one you listen to. I've seen so many talented people destroy themselves because they let ego drive their path. They stopped learning, they stopped listening, they thought they already knew enough. But when ego takes control, growth stops. And when growth stops, you slowly lose everything that made you great. My father used to remind me, stay humble even when you win. Because the moment you think you're above someone, life will find a way to remind you how small you really are. Ego builds walls around you, humility builds bridges. Ego screams for attention, character earns it silently through respect. When you stay humble, people feel your strength without you saying a word. But when ego speaks too much, people stop listening. Ego destroys relationships, teams, and even empires, because ego doesn't want to understand, it only wants to be right. When I was fighting, many tried to get into my head. They talked, they provoked, they insulted, but I stayed silent, not because I was afraid to respond, but because I understood if I let my ego speak, I lose control. And when you lose control, you lose focus. That's what ego does, it blinds you. It makes you emotional. It takes you away from your mission. A man led by ego reacts. A man led by character responds. One acts from emotion, the other from purpose. That's the difference between being impulsive and being intelligent, between being loud and being wise. Ego tells you to prove people wrong. Character tells you to prove yourself right. And when your focus shifts from others to yourself, that's when you truly begin to grow. You stop needing validation. You stop needing to win every argument, because your confidence no longer comes from people. It comes from discipline, from silence, from what you've built inside. You must understand, ego feeds on insecurity. The more insecure you are, the louder your ego becomes. That's why the strongest people are often the calmest. They don't need to announce who they are. They know their peace is their proof. Ego wants the world to see your success. Character wants God to see your effort. Ego wants recognition now. Character is willing to wait. And in the long run, it's always character that wins, because ego burns fast, but character endures. Don't confuse confidence with ego. Confidence is quiet assurance. Ego is noisy pride. Confidence says, I can do this. Ego says, only I can do this. One builds people up, the other tears them down. One attracts respect, the other demands it, and that's the difference between those who rise and those who fall. You can have skill, talent, power, but without character, all of it will collapse. Ego might take you to the top, but it will never keep you there. Because ego isolates you from truth, and when you stop listening to truth, your downfall begins. So learn to listen. Listen more than you speak. Listen to people who know more than you. Listen to criticism, not to defend yourself, but to grow. Listening doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise, because when you listen, you learn, and when you learn, you evolve. Every time you feel anger rise inside you, pause. Don't let ego answer, let character decide. Because ego reacts instantly, but character waits for the right moment. That's how warriors think. They don't fight every battle, they fight only the ones that matter. Never forget, the loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest. True warriors don't announce their strength. They prove it through silence, through discipline, through humility. Because ego is noise, but character is peace. So as you move forward, stay grounded. Stay humble in victory, respectful in defeat, and calm in chaos. The man who can silence his ego and listen with his heart, that man becomes unstoppable. Because in a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who listens rules. When you finally silence your ego, something rare happens inside you, your mind becomes clear. For the first time, you start hearing the sound of your own focus. You begin to realize how much energy the noise was stealing from you. Every argument, every distraction, every need to prove yourself, it all takes away from your mission. But when you remove the noise, you begin to see your path. That's the gift of silence, it builds focus. You cannot focus when your mind is loud. You cannot chase greatness if you're chasing opinions. Most people lose not because they're weak, but because they're distracted. They spend more time reacting to others than working on themselves. But a focused man is dangerous because his silence isn't empty, it's full of purpose. When you train in silence, you start understanding things others miss. You notice the small details. You see the mistakes. You feel the rhythm of progress. You begin to sharpen your mind like a blade. Focus is not about doing more, it's about doing only what matters. And silence teaches you that. The world today is built to break your focus. Every sound, every notification, every meaningless debate pulls you away from your vision. That's why silence is so powerful. It's not just peace, it's resistance. When you choose to disconnect from noise, you're saying, I value my purpose more than the world's distractions. That's strength most people don't have. Focus is born when you start saying no. No to gossip, no to comparison, no to the voices that try to tell you who you should be. You cannot hear your calling if you're listening to everyone else. That's why the greatest warriors always trained in silence. They built their concentration like a weapon. While the world shouted, they listened to the sound of their own breath. That's where discipline meets clarity. When I used to train for fights, people would always ask, "Why are you so quiet?" They didn't understand my silence wasn't emptiness, it was focus. I wasn't thinking about fame or opinions. I was thinking about precision, movement, control. I was focused on execution, because when you're focused, your energy becomes powerful. You move differently, think differently, breathe differently. Focus gives you control over chaos. It keeps your mind calm when pressure rises. It teaches you to respond instead of react. Most people lose control because they panic. They let the noise outside destroy the peace inside. But when your mind is trained in silence, you don't crumble, you calculate. You don't rush, you remain still. You don't fear the storm, you study it. That's why silence is not the absence of sound. It's the mastery of attention. It's learning to hear what others ignore, your thoughts, your instincts, your truth. When you focus deeply, even your smallest actions carry weight. You don't waste movement, you don't waste words, you don't waste time. Focus is not about intensity for one day. It's about consistency every day. It's about building the ability to stay locked in when everyone else gives up. People will try to break your concentration, not always with hate, sometimes with love, comfort, distraction. But remember, not everything that feels good helps you grow. Growth often hides in silence and struggle. You must protect your focus like it's sacred, because it is. Your focus decides your future. Whatever you give your attention to, that's what grows. If you focus on anger, anger grows. If you focus on peace, peace grows. If you focus on your dream becomes your reality. So choose wisely. Don't let your mind be a battlefield for distractions. Build it into a temple of purpose. Every morning, wake up and ask yourself, what deserves my focus today? And once you find it, give it everything. No excuses, no noise, no hesitation. You'll notice something powerful happen. People will start to wonder how you do it, how you stay calm, how you stay committed. But they'll never understand because they don't hear what you hear. They don't know that your silence isn't emptiness, it's fire. It's focus burning quietly inside you. So keep training in silence. Keep studying in silence. Keep working in silence. Because one day, when your results speak, the world will finally listen. That's when silence becomes sound, the sound of success. And in that moment, you'll understand something very few ever will. You never needed to be louder than the world, you just needed to be more focused than it. When you live with silence, when you build your focus, you start to see the truth. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every word needs your answer. Not every insult needs your reaction. Most people waste their strength fighting meaningless battles, and when the real war arrives, they're already tired. You must learn to choose your fights wisely, because not every fight is yours to fight. The world will test you, people will provoke you, they'll misunderstand you, criticize you, even try to drag you into their chaos. But remember this, when you react to everything, you lose control, and when you lose control, you lose power. Real power is not in responding, it's in restraint. You see, the loudest person in the room often has the weakest point to prove. They use words to hide insecurity, but the calm man, the silent man, the focused man, he doesn't need to shout. His presence alone speaks. That's why wolves don't bark like dogs. They walk with quiet confidence because they know what they're capable of. You must learn to walk the same way. Every time someone disrespects you or doubts you, ask yourself, do they deserve my energy? Do they deserve my peace? Most of the time the answer is no. Because when you give your reaction, you give them power. And once you give them power, they control your emotions. But when you stay silent, when you stay composed, they lose control. That's the beauty of patience. It confuses those who live off chaos. I've seen it in the cage, I've seen it in life. Fighters who lose their temper lose their focus. The one who stays calm, who stays calculated, always wins. Anger blinds you, ego pushes you into traps, but patience lets you see clearly. You must never fight just because someone calls you out. You fight only when it's worth it, when it's necessary, when it serves your purpose. That's not cowardice, that's intelligence. There's a difference between pride and honor. Pride reacts, honor responds. Pride wants revenge, honor wants peace. When you understand that, you stop chasing every conflict. You stop explaining yourself to people who already decided not to understand you. You stop arguing with noise, because you realize your silence is not weakness, it's strategy. When people talk about you, let them. When they doubt you, let them, because your job is not to convince them, your job is to keep building. Let them laugh while you train, let them mock while you prepare. One day, your results will make the noise for you. And that's the kind of noise no one can silence. I've learned that the best answer to disrespect is success. The best reply to hate is peace. And the best revenge is never to become like them. When someone throws dirt on you, don't throw it back, use it to plant something. Use it to grow, because nothing destroys your enemy faster than your calm. Nothing hurts them more than your progress. In life, you will meet people who want to see you react. They feed off your frustration, your anger, your weakness. Don't give them that satisfaction. Don't give them your peace. Stay still, stay patient, and when the time is right, let your actions speak clean, sharp, unstoppable. Because silence doesn't mean you don't see what's happening. It means you're saving your energy for when it truly matters. Understand this, life is full of noise, and not every sound deserves your attention. Some battles are traps meant to pull you away from your purpose. Some arguments exist just to make you lose focus. But the wise man, he doesn't fight every battle. He fights only the ones that build him. So next time someone tries to provoke you, remember reacting is easy. Resisting is strength. Don't let their chaos touch your calm. Don't let their weakness break your discipline. Let your silence protect your energy, and let your patience become your armor. Because in the end, the world doesn't remember who shouted the loudest, it remembers who stood the strongest. The one who didn't need to answer every insult, who didn't waste his time proving his worth. The one who walked away from noise, focused on the mission, and let victory speak for him. And that's the lesson. My brother, not every battle needs a response. Some battles are won simply by not fighting them at all. When you stop fighting every battle, something changes inside you. The noise fades, the distractions lose power, and for the first time, you start hearing the sound of your own mind. That's when you realize silence isn't empty. It's full of answers, because the mind, my brother, grows only in silence. When everything around you is loud, the opinions, the pressure, the expectations, your thoughts become scattered. You start living in reaction, not creation. You move because others move, you speak because others speak, and you forget who you really are. But when you remove the noise, when you sit with yourself quietly, the truth begins to rise. You start to understand what really matters, what you really want, and who you were always meant to be. In silence, your mind heals. You begin to see the patterns, the mistakes you made, the lessons they carried, the pain that shaped you. You start connecting dots that chaos never allowed you to see. Most people run from silence because they're afraid of what they might hear inside. They fill their lives with distractions, with screens, with people, with endless noise, because silence forces you to face yourself. But that's exactly where growth begins. When you sit alone, with no music, no phone, no audience, just you and your thoughts, that's when your mind starts to train. It starts to organize your dreams, your pain, your purpose. It teaches you what peace feels like. And when you finally learn to be at peace with yourself, no one can break you anymore. You don't become wise by talking, you become wise by listening. And the first voice you must listen to is your own. Not your ego, not your fear, not the world's noise, your inner truth. That voice doesn't shout, it whispers, and you can only hear it when everything else goes silent. That's why people who master silence often look calm, because they know their power doesn't come from noise, it comes from clarity. When I was training, I used to spend hours alone, no crowd, no cameras, no interviews. Just the sound of my breath and my heart beating. In those moments, I understood myself better than any victory ever could. I understood my limits, my doubts, my hunger. That's where my strength was built, not in the cage, but in the silence before it. Silence is not about escaping the world, it's about mastering it from within. It gives you space to think before reacting, to plan before acting, to see before moving. It transforms confusion into direction. It turns emotion into wisdom. That's why the greatest warriors, the greatest thinkers, the greatest leaders all had moments of solitude. Because they knew, if the mind is not calm, the path will never be clear. When your mind grows in silence, you become unshakable. People will try to pull you into drama, but you'll see through it. They'll try to provoke you, but you'll stay still. You'll learn to move with patience, not pressure. You'll stop wasting energy trying to control others and start mastering yourself. And here's something powerful: silence teaches you how to listen to life itself. You begin to notice things others miss, the lessons hidden in failure, the blessings disguised as pain, the strength hiding inside struggle. Silence trains your perception. It teaches you how to respond with wisdom, not emotion. Every great decision I've ever made came from silence, not from excitement, not from anger, from silence. Because in silence there is no ego, there is only truth. When you stop rushing to answer everything, you start to understand everything. So take time every day to disconnect, not from people, but from noise. Close your eyes, breathe and listen. Let your thoughts come and go without fear. Let your mind stretch, because the mind, just like the body, grows stronger when you train it, and silence is its gym. When your mind grows in silence, your confidence changes. You stop seeking approval. You stop comparing yourself. You stop fearing failure. You realize that peace is not found in success, it's found in self-control. That's what silence gives you: control. So remember, this silence isn't just a pause, it's progress. Every minute you spend in quiet reflection, you're sharpening your vision. You're building a stronger version of yourself, calm, clear and unstoppable. Because in the end, the loudest minds may get attention, but the silent minds, they build legacies. When I said that silence is a weapon, not weakness, I meant it from experience. Because when you live in a world full of noise, full of opinions, full of people trying to tell you who you are, silence becomes your protection. But silence alone is not enough. You need something stronger behind it: discipline. And discipline, my brothers and sisters, speaks louder than any words you can ever say. Discipline is the bridge between what you want and what you become. It is what separates those who talk about greatness from those who live it. I have seen many people with talent, many who had dreams bigger than mountains, but they lacked discipline. They wanted the reward without the routine, the victory without the grind. But life doesn't work that way. Discipline is the quiet force that shapes destiny. It doesn't scream for attention, it doesn't post its progress, it simply works when no one is watching. You see, everyone wants to be loud when it's time to celebrate, but very few are silent when it's time to sacrifice. Discipline is waking up early when your body says no. It's training when nobody claps for you. It's saying no to comfort because you know comfort never built warriors. Discipline is when you control your mind before your mind controls you. And that is the real fight, not the one in the cage, not the one against others, but the one inside you. When I was young, my father used to tell me, "Don't talk too much, let your actions make the noise." I didn't understand it at first. I wanted to tell everyone what I could do, but with time I learned real power doesn't announce itself. Real power moves in silence. The disciplined man doesn't need to prove anything. His work, his patience, his focus, they speak for him. There are moments in life when you will be tested. You will be tired, angry, maybe even broken. In those moments, discipline becomes your closest friend, because motivation fades, feelings change, but discipline stays. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it just asks, did you do what you said you would do? It's that voice that whispers, keep going, when the world says stop. And when you follow that voice, you build something inside you that no one can take away: self-respect. People often mistake silence for weakness, but I tell you, silence combined with discipline is a storm waiting for its moment. While others waste their time arguing, you are working. While others seek attention, you are seeking mastery. And when your time comes, you won't need to say a word. Your results will speak in a way that silence never could. Discipline also teaches you humility. Because when you train every day, when you struggle, when you fail and rise again, you realize you're not better than anyone, you're just more consistent. That's what separates champions, not talent, not talk, consistency. Every day, you do the work, even when it's boring, even when no one believes in you. You keep going, because you made a promise to yourself. And I'll tell you something, a man who keeps his promises to himself is unstoppable. He doesn't need applause, he doesn't need validation. His peace comes from knowing he gave everything. That's discipline. It's the art of showing up when you don't want to, the art of choosing long-term respect over short-term pleasure. The art of staying silent and focused while everyone else is chasing noise. So when you walk through this loud world, remember, you don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need to post to prove. Let your silence show your patience, and let your discipline show your strength. Because one day, when everyone's noise fades away, the world will hear your results clear, undeniable, and powerful. That's why I say, silence is not weakness, and discipline is not suffering. Together, they are the foundation of greatness. And when you live by that, when you move with calm and purpose, nothing, no criticism, no distraction, no failure can shake you. Because your silence has become your power, and your discipline has become your voice.